In 1980, after years as a successful screenwriter, independent filmmaker John Sayles started shopping around what he hoped would be his first film, Matewan. It was then that the once open doors of Hollywood began to close.
It took us about 7 years from the time that, 7 or 8 years from the time that I wrote it until we got to make it. It was among the things that when I was first screenwriting were shown around, and people said, "Oh, this is very good. We'll never, isn't this, character kind of a socialist?" After it was clear that Hollywood studios weren't interested, started to try to raise the money independently. And that actually almost came through a couple times. One time we were one day away from going to West Virginia and booking the hotel rooms, and the people who were going to put up the money were refused the bank loan, so the whole thing fell apart.
Matewan was set aside, and Sayles went on to direct Brother from Another Planet. With the success of that film, Sayles managed to secure the financing for Matewan. When he finally made the film in 1987, it was the fulfillment of a dream set in motion a long time ago.
I first came upon the story of Matewan when I was hitchhiking through West Virginia in the late 60s, and there was a lot of turmoil happening at that time within the United Mine Workers Union. And people were on this side or that side, and but almost all of them said, well, this is nothing as bad as the Cold Wars. I've never heard of this thing, the Cold Wars. And then they started talking about the Matewan massacre and what that led to and what that led to. And it seemed like there's this whole part of American history that nobody had ever heard of outside of West Virginia. That was kind of like their version of the Alamo.
Sayles took it upon himself to tell their story, and in doing so, put together quite an ensemble cast.
We didn't think we could get James Earl Jones to work on a small project like this, and so we spent months looking for a James Earl Jones type. And then finally, when we didn't find anybody who really got me excited, he said, "Oh, what the hell, we'll call James Earl Jones' agent up and see if he wants to do it. It's worth a try," and it worked out.
Mary McDonnell, who later went on to claim fame in Dances with Wolves, was also part of the cast.
Mary's somebody I actually knew from theater, and Mary's somebody who kind of just stuck in our head, and she hadn't done movies at that point.
Sayles also gave himself a small role.
Oh yeah, for two reasons. One is they'll hire myself, and then the other one is the directors I'll work for scale. The preacher in Matewan, you only see him twice, and he's the perfect part for a director because I didn't even have lines with anybody. I just preached at them.
Shooting the film was almost as difficult as raising the financing.
We shot for 8 weeks, and it was very, very difficult. I mean, it was partly because West Virginia is such a hilly, hard to get around place. There are not a lot of straight roads. You're always winding here and there, and our locations were pretty far flung. That occasionally we actually had to improve the roads in order to get to the place that we were shooting. One of my favorite scenes, there's a confrontation at the drift mouth late at night. It was in an old abandoned drift mouth that we had to kind of cut our own path to and put lights on the side of the sheer cliff, and so it was kind of an adventure just setting the scene up and then getting everybody there and shooting it. I think everybody just had a great time. There's something about night shooting under bright lights that really jazzes people up.
Matewan is based on a struggle between coal miners, union members, and company owners. There is no clear right and wrong, a theme often confronted in Sayles films.
In anything where you're seeing 2 sides or 3 sides of an issue, you have to be very, very aware of that the audience is going to want to grab onto something. And so in Matewan, one of the things that I'm playing with is that you have people on the same side, sort of, but they also are disagreeing about things, and they may both be right. And that's something I'm often playing with, and it's one of the reasons that I think I end up making independent movies rather than Hollywood movies, is that just for those pure storytelling reasons, they go against the formulas of most Hollywood movies.